Hey, gun people. This is a SWAT call out. I'm just going to try to talk. These guys are serving a search warrant or arrest warrant. They don't really say. I'm assuming it's a search warrant since they weren't really looking for one specific person. It didn't seem like. I'm going to pick apart a little bit of their tactics, a little part of their verbal communication, and a few other things that I would see based on my experience. So, you know, I'm sure there'll be some SWAT guys. Those guys did great. We're all great. Whatever. And I've been in these cars, and there's some things that some of the problems when you're going into calls like this, what I call blind, is whether you're in a SWAT truck or you're in an undercover van or there's multiple units showing up in different cars. There's unless you're driving, you're in the front seat where you can see, it's very difficult to get, you know, orientated on the house you're going to, getting in line, getting out of the car, not giving away your position. They stop about a house, 2 houses down from their target, which is okay. Normally we would have an undercover on something like this drive by and maybe give some intel. There's a dog, the door's open. We would know something. They kind of seem surprised when the door's open when they get there. A little bit better intel, but I'll just strategize this and stop it as we go on the...
Remember to grab back Gary's vest and yell bang. Yeah. I'll get the screen door.
Okay, now all this, what they're talking about, has already been talked about in the mission brief. Before you go out on one of these, everybody gets a copy of the search warrant. We get a picture of who the guy we're looking for. We get what the crime is, what evidence we may be looking for, escape routes, whether he's in a gang. So there would be a briefing at the PD before they went out on this, so they all know who's going to be the breacher, who's going to do the bang, who's throwing a flashbang, who's taking the front, who's taking the rear, who's the entry team, what's the Congo line lineup, who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the line. It seems like it gets a little confused. They kind of jump out when they're jumping out of the van. I mean, there's always kind of, nothing ever goes perfect. Again, I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying there's a lot of things in here that's going on. All these guys have helmets on. I rarely wore a helmet. I didn't usually wear eye protection either. You'll see one guy in here in a red t-shirt. Normally what happens if you're doing one of these, the investigating agent or the person requesting the SWAT team to make the entry will usually make entry with the team or at the back of the line, or if he's worked with the team, working with a drug task force, they would do their own entry. So they had all this gear. They would all work undercover, and then when it came time to do their entry, they would do their own entry. And again, for them to pull out this many guys to go on this type of call, they're not going after some dude who didn't pay a parking ticket. This has to be connected to some sort of homicide, violence, serial rapist. There has to, and I looked in the description, it doesn't say what the warrant is for. It doesn't show a copy of the warrant. If somebody wants to post links to those, that'd be nice. And again, I usually follow up in the description when I get new information. I put new links. So if there's questions you got, go back and read the description in a week or so, and I'll probably have some updates that I add in the description for new people so when they read it. But anyway, let's continue on what they're doing here.
You guys won't have to worry about the screen door. I'll get it. Go ahead.
That's the ram between his legs. He hit one of his partners. I was like, if that was me, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Okay, so you can tell this guy is in shorts and a t-shirt. He's just thrown a vest on. He may be part of the task force. He may be part of the SWAT team. He may be the detective in charge of it. He may be buddies with one of these guys. They go, hey, man, what are you doing? You want some overtime? Come make this entry with us. They got a lot of guys on this entry, and they don't find anybody there. Again, another kind of thing to me that's a clue. They either didn't do their research, they didn't follow. If it was an arrest warrant, you have to have a reason to believe that the person you're arresting is in the house when you make entry. You can't just go, unless it's the house of residence, then you can go and serve the warrant and maybe not know. But if this is a third party's house, they'd have to have a reason to believe he's in there. But again, they're entering on a warrant. And I can't remember if they say search warrant when they bang on the door or not. I guess we'll find out here quick. So right now, they've got this house for protection and this house for protection. They stopped 2 lanes up. Again, they probably have units down here ready to swoop in the back. They probably got the rear maybe covered, so when they go in, they're just going to be the entry team. So they may have other guys that are going to head to the back and catch all the runners that come out the windows, etc. These are two-story homes. They're walking by a lot of windows. So, you know, that's got to be a concern. Again, when you got all these long guns, you got all these people, you know, it's great that people say don't laser me and you should never laser anybody and your gun should... Look, people are going to be lasered in this video. I mean, you may not see it, but I guarantee you, when you get a bunch of cops in a Congo line, you guys get lasered. But hopefully you're following other gun safety procedures. Your finger's not on the trigger, and you're not just holding your gun on someone's back. So if a flinch response happens or you get knocked down a trip, you're not going to shoot your buddy in the back. But lasering happens. You know, the safety sallies or whatever, they're all going to be all panicky. You should always... They've never been in a situation like this because it happens. Okay, that's Congo line is what we're always talking about when you line up. You know, when you do the Congo dance and you're kicking and you're walking around partying. So we call this the Congo line. They'll say Congo up, Congo line up. Everybody gets behind each other, put your hands on your shoulder, so you know everybody's in line, and then it squeezes. Sometimes you'll squeeze back and squeeze forward. When you got your guy, so when you feel the guy behind you squeeze, that's saying the guy behind him squeezed, so the last guy squeezed, therefore we're all ready to line up, and then you squeeze the guy in the front, and that means go.
Go. We're here.
So they're passing this house. Again, in a hostile area, this is a danger zone. You know, and a lot of the hoods that I worked in, you know, that was their turf. And, you know, there was a gang member in every other house, and, you know, you could never really be safe around walking past other houses. They were threats as well because, you know, they're going to come out and yell or blow or honk a horn. I guarantee you, if they don't have the roads blocked off, which it looks like they might have the road blocked down here, if they don't have the roads blocked off and a gangbanger comes through here and they see the cops approaching their house, they're going to honk the horn, get on the cell phone, scream, "Yo, man, the cops are outside," and they're going to blow the entry. So you have to take that into your planning on what type of hood you're working in, you know, how big you're going to secure it, how big is your outer perimeter going to be. These cars back here are considered an outer perimeter. They're going to keep people out of the affected area. These guys entering are going to be what's doing the inner perimeter. They're going to contain the real estate that they take. So let's get this going here.
I got high.
Okay, so you hear a lot of talking here. They're communicating. They're talking on who's getting who's got the front door. A lot of time that isn't covered. I would hope they have somebody in the back or they have the uniforms that as soon as they all go to the front, what you can't see is there's a few uniforms at the very rear who have rear security. So as they pass this, a couple of uniforms are going to peel off here to the back and cover the back. And they'll cover these windows as they go by to make sure nobody runs out the back of the house. Because right now, at this point of warrant, this is your compromise area. This is where you get compromised. And when you're doing a warrant, if you get compromised, that falls under exigency. I know people are going to be like, "You cops, you got to excuse you just call it." I'm just telling you, if somebody sticks their head out the window right now and yells, "Cops," and runs inside, even if they're required to do knock and notice, which I'm assuming they are because they stop right here at the door and they bang on the door and say police, they don't do knock and notice like I was taught or like I would do. When I bang on the door, I say police, search warrant, demand entry. Police, arrest warrant, demand entry. Because according to the penal code in California, cops have to state the reason they're there and they must demand entry. And you have to wait a reasonable amount of time. Now, most people are going to say this wasn't reasonable. I would tend to agree. This wasn't reasonable. I think this lady would open the door. But I have a feeling because they have flashbangs and they've got all the SWAT team, they got all the gear and the heavy trucks, that again, this was a high risk of assault, a high risk of finding weapons, or high risk of somebody resisting. You know, again, this could be dictated by, or the guy we're going after, is he facing life in prison? Is he on parole? He knows when he goes back he's getting life. He's a 3-striker. Did he shoot out? You know, did he rob an armored car? Did he say he was going to kill his girlfriend? He beat her up and she's missing and we think he killed her and we need to find evidence. I mean, those are the things that are going to dictate how aggressive you are. So the fact that these cops are doing the way they did it, I sure as hell hope this isn't some dude accessed a porn site and they just want to practice with their new toys, because that would be a serious overreach of government, in my opinion.
Front door's open. I'll get it.
Okay, again, you got this guy with no gun in his hand because he's got a flashbang, so he doesn't have a gun out. This guy doesn't have a gun because he's got the pole. He's going to bust the door. The guy in the front has a gun. This guy has a gun. And again, we're still trying to get more guns on the door here. Again, how big of a threat was this to only have 2 guns and you got two guys behind him without guns. You know, tactically speaking, I want more guns up front. This guy and this guy, I'm not too worried about them. I want the guys with guns in case gunfire comes out of that house. We can handle it. But they've got two guys. There's going to be people that's going to say, you know, this is fine, this is perfect. I'm just giving my opinion, people. Relax.
I got it, Jeff. I'm gonna go to the left side.
So this guy is standing right dead center of the door. Again, as a cop, I'm going to be saying, what was the exigency? Why is it that you were so nervous on this warrant that you busted out a door, you threw in flashbangs, you busted out windows, and yet you walked up to the front of a glass door that was open and stood there? Now, other people are going to say he stood there because he had a bulletproof vest on, he had a gun, and he was ready to engage, and he wanted to see if anybody was running so he could communicate to the other guys. So again, there's pros and cons. There's always two sides. You can pick it apart and only concentrate on the picking, or you can turn it to the other side and say, hey, was there a valid reason he's doing what he did?
Police department search warrant! Police department search warrant!
Okay, police department search warrant. He's not saying demand entry, so it is a search warrant. It's not an arrest warrant. They obviously got a search warrant, and you know, it depends on the state or how they do it. Some search warrants will say if you're going to use flashbangs or something like that, you have to show justification because they can start fires. And if you throw it in a baby's room, which has been done, and it lands in the baby's crib and it blows up and it deafens the baby over some bullshit freaking warrant, I mean, is that really reasonable? To me, it's not. You know, government would say it is because we got to protect our government officers. Okay, so how many guys we got in reflection here? We got one guy with a gun here. We got a guy here with his gun. Is he lasering? We got a guy behind him. Where's his gun pointing? And we got this guy here. I'm not sure what he's doing. Okay, so they dig their two knock and notice. Again, is somebody coming to the door or somebody running? I never heard that communicated. It should be, I see somebody come to the door, she's coming to the door. She's not delaying. Really, the only time you want to be busting and doing all this is when people are trying to get away, they're trying to destroy evidence, or they're trying to run. Now, maybe in the warrant, because the evidence they're looking for is easily destroyed, they're like, you know, and a lot of dope warrants that way because they'll flush it. You don't want to give them a chance. So the knock notice is pretty much a check mark. We did knock notice and then we entered, what, 5 seconds later? Was it reasonable on how much time somebody had to come open the door? Did the person who owns the house have a reasonable opportunity to come and allow the police access, or were they delaying the officers, which caused the officers to use this force? Or did the officers get in their warrant that they did not want to be delayed and they want to do an immediate entry because the likelihood of destruction of evidence is high, and if we don't get in, somebody could escape, get and take hostage, or evidence be lost? Could be any one of those things. Okay, so they're going through the door. They went through where they banged it. They one flashbang. I think they threw one in the back window there too. So there's a couple guys over there. Sometimes we'll call that a distraction. If we're going to make entry at the front, we'll send a guy around the back with a baseball bat and say, when you hear us bang on the door, bust out that back window. And then so they'll be like, holy shit, they're coming to the back, and they'll run to us so they don't know where we're entering. Because if we just enter the front and they hear all the banging and everything in front, they're going to run away from it naturally, head to the back. And, you know, if we can distract them and make them look somewhere else, or if they got guns and shooting, if they think we're coming through a bedroom window, maybe they will turn. That will buy us time to make entry and secure the area. So a lot of things to consider when you're doing these that people don't think about. Okay, problem with this house, very big, multiple levels. There's a basement, there's almost 2 basements, there's an upstairs, and they're making entry on 1 level. So I don't know what they're doing in the background, but you would need a lot of people to secure this because you need at least 2 people to enter a room. You should have 2 people. I see a couple times in here they get off by themselves. You don't want to go upstairs until you have at least a 4-man team so you can get up secure hallways, and then you have a 2-man entry team to do the doors so you can work your way down. So you're going to need 4 people to go upstairs. You don't have the bottom secure. You don't know what's in the basement. I mean, this house, as they're moving through it, creates a lot of exigent circumstances or a lot of problems when you're trying to secure or work effectively.
With you, just relax. What I'm trying to couch
Okay, so this girl knows the drill, and you notice the mom and this girl later, they'll be in handcuffs, they're walking out, they're pretty calm. This isn't the first time the house has probably been hit. They probably know it. It's either a drug house, a gang house, something. You know, routine kind of stuff for people that live in this environment that deal with government in this way all the time.
Up, hon. Get up. On top of your head. Put your hands on top of your head. I got it.
Okay, so you notice here that one guy split off to this area, and these guys got here. Because of the multiple rooms in here, this is what is really a dangerous situation, because when you have cops clearing and you don't have a cleared area, which is why I think they kind of went a little quicker than I probably would have been comfortable with, you got guys getting in front of other guys, and I may come around a corner and see a guy with a helmet and a gun, and he shines a flashlight in my eyes, and I shine a flashlight in his eyes, and either one of us could shoot each other. So it's really critical when you're moving through houses. It's better if you can move as a team and stay together. In this house, a lot of things are going because it's so big and there's so many officers moving around. Okay, so normally also we have what's called a security team. We'll have a couple guys that usually their job is to grab every time we hook somebody or we bring them back to a room. So you have two guys in one room, and every time we hook somebody in a room, because sometimes we'll go in, there'll be 15 people in the house. So we'll be hooking and booking, running out of handcuffs, and so you can't just leave them there and you can't stay, because if you stay, you start reducing your numbers. So normally in an operation like this, you want one room with a couple of guys for security, and that's where you're bringing all your detainees. So when these guys entered, there should have been two guys in one room that searched all the couches, that secured one room, and they would be waiting for anybody to bring back any arrestees. And when they bring them in, they lay them down, or they set them somewhere that they've already searched. And everyone is held in one room after they've been cuffed and searched and brought back to you. And then that person goes back and the search continues. But when you start losing bodies as you're grabbing people, it reduces your numbers and it reduces your effectiveness. Okay, so they're saying I need one. You notice this guy's walking his detainee back. This guy comes out of somewhere, out of nowhere. He comes in, so now there's going to be two guys, and they're probably going to move on. Okay, darkness. A lot of places to hide. They're clearing these rooms a little quick. I would have opened every one of those doors and looked behind it. I mean, there's a lot of people that have false cabinets, false hiding, especially when you're in a neighborhood like this, to where if you're using this much force to enter a house, you've got to be dealing with some savvy criminals. I'd be doing a little bit better search. I think this guy ends up opening one of them. He sees their shelves. Okay, good. He saw shelves in both. Good. This guy doesn't seem to me like he's really tactically worried. He's kind of got his head down. He's kind of walking kind of nonchalant. He doesn't seem like he's on high alert. And when I'm doing a warrant like this, if it's just that critical, my gun's out. I'm freaking, I'm watching everything, and I don't have my gun pointed down unless I don't want to laser another officer. But he kind of seemed like his head's down. He's not really scanning. He's not really looking. I mean, right now, somebody run out of the back room. He hears a shots fired and a guy run out of here. He really wouldn't be what I would consider capable of doing this. I know somebody's going to be like, why are you picking on him? You weren't there. All right, whatever. Okay, so we have some officers going down and some officers going up. You're going to hear, you've got detainees back here. You got officers over here. This is really what I call a non-secure, it's not stable situation. This is still in a heightened, you're still in a hostile environment, in my opinion. And the cops almost seem like they're pretty comfortable and they think they're pretty safe, which again, gives me conflicting information. Why did you use all this force and think it was so dangerous to bring all these people and blow shit up and flashbang the place? And then once you get in an insecure environment, where you haven't cleared downstairs, you haven't cleared upstairs, you don't know if there's people waiting with guns, you don't know if people are gathering upstairs to come downstairs and shoot you, there's nobody covering the stairwell. It just, again, I'm just looking at this and things just don't add up like it was that big of a security risk and that big of a problem. But again, I don't know all the facts.
Hold the stairs.
Okay, so now they're bringing this girl back who's a detainee instead of having a scheduled place to where everybody arrested goes. having a secure team. I'm not a fan of that. I would have just done it different. I mean, it's their policy. They can do it the way they want. I kind of liked it the way we did it. We had a security team. We put a couple guys in there. That's all they did is watch these people. Didn't let them talk. Didn't let them dig around. Didn't let them destroy evidence. Didn't let them get their stories together. Sat there. And then once we got him in there, his job was to get ID once it was stable. And he wrote down everybody's ID and who the officer that brought him in. And, you know, so then when we're doing our report later, we know who got who and who grabbed who and why they were detained and whose cuffs or what, etc. Always a pain when you use flashbangs or if somebody's cooking something and you don't realize it. When these alarms start going off, very distracting. It takes away your ability to hear. You're hearing those beeping. You don't want to stop and necessarily disable it. If it's up to me, I just put a bullet in it. That wouldn't be politically correct. Normally what happens is you ignore it till you get stable, and then one guy goes back with a chair and starts pulling out batteries and ripping the batteries out of them. But, I mean, some of them are hardwired. They're kind of a pain. You know, I know people aren't going to want to believe this, but I've seen a few. I might have ripped a few. Just pull the damn wires out to shut it up. I know, it's bootleg cop. I should be in jail, but whatever.
How many you got? Okay, I'm going down.
Okay, so we got a couple guys that went in different rooms by themselves, not a fan. One guy decides to go back down. Doesn't look like there's a good command and control on a team. There should be a searching team, you know, a detention team. I mean, it just doesn't look, to me, if we had to use all this force to get in a place and it was that serious, we'd be taking it serious once we're in there. And it seemed to me they took it serious to get there, to blow stuff up into force entry, and then once they got in, it was like, it's not that serious. Okay, you're going to go up there? Okay, I'm going to go down here, and you guys, oh, you got that room? Okay, you go clear that, I'm going to go. I mean, if I think somebody's in there to try and kill me or destroy evidence or something that's really critical, I guess my sense of urgency or command and control of the area is going to be a little bit higher. I know, I'm being picky. Okay, you got cops running around, coming around corners. There should be a whole lot, and again, my opinion, there should be a whole lot more communication between the officers. I never walked out of a room without saying clear, coming out. I don't want somebody mistaking me as a bad guy coming out of a room that they don't know is cleared. They didn't know I was in there. If they showed up late and now all of a sudden I pop my ass out with a gun and they're like, holy shit, and you scare the crap out of people. So, you know, doing that, shit, I hope I can not run out of my battery life here. Let me pull this in a little bit more and see if I can connect this battery so I don't lose my, shit. Well, that didn't work out too well. Alright, so let's go. And I have 39 minutes of battery. I know I've been talking 39 minutes. So again, I'm saying there should be more communication. Every time you come out of a building, coming around the corner, coming around, coming out, clear, coming out, walking around, I want to communicate every time I go from an unknown area or to a known area, my area, to an unknown area. I want to make damn sure everybody else knows about that. So I would just be doing a lot more communication on this.
With you. With you. Hold it. Just hold it.
Okay, so this guy says hold it. That was good. They started getting a little fast. He said he's with you. Searching these dark areas like this, very, very dangerous. Just not... I mean, it's very hard to clear.
Just hold it, Josh.
I don't like searching areas like this. I want to find a light source. If it was up to me, I'd be staging. The house has power. Those people go down there with daylight. I'd be getting some lights on. I don't like searching with just a flashlight. It's too easy to miss somebody, too easy for somebody to blind me. You're going from light to darkness. You're going to miss somebody. You're going to miss hiding areas, corners. Searching dark areas, if there's a light source, then get a freaking light source in there. Searching with a flashlight's not the best way to search, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Go ahead.
This is clear. This is clear.
Okay, come on out.
The only opening guys we had was in the top here. There's no opening.
Okay, this clear. This is just electrical.
Where you got an opening, Chad? It's up here on the left. We just got a camera seal it. You got it. Okay. Okay.
They got a light on in here, much easier to search.
Anybody got a mirror?
I can see this wall here. The only thing I can't see, guys, is this right around the corner here.
Here.
Okay, you don't ever want to holler clear. Something's clear when you can sense it. This guy's taking the time to say, hey, I can't really clear this. Good move on his part. You don't want to holler clear. I've seen cops, especially CHP, those freaking, I hate searching with those guys. They miss more people. They do the sloppies because they're used to just freaking getting out of the car and writing a damn ticket. So when you get them in on a search like this, until they've done it for a while, unless they're really young and they learn, they're just walking through a door. Yeah, clear, clear. Yeah. They got their pistol out. Sometimes they'll put their pistol away. So you have to know who you're working with. This guy's taking the time saying, hey, I can't clear this. I'm not going to holler clear until I can make sure and get a mirror or light or something here because there could be somebody back there. So good move on his part on that.
Try this.
All clear.
Basement's clear.
Okay, so they call it clearing the basement. I would have checked that dryer. I've seen people hide in the dryer. I would have checked the dryer. I would have probably checked some other areas. Like I said, I saw him walk by a couple couches. When I find a couch, the cushions come flying off, or I just run on top of the couch with my shoes. I know being a jack-leg boot cop. And I just make sure that if I stand on somebody or if I'm running over them, they're going to holler or go, So if I'm in a hurry and I'm clearing a couch, I may not take time to pull the cushions. I'll just run over it to make sure it's not a fold-out bed, that they've removed the bed and now it's a hiding place and the cushions are just for cover. So they finally end up getting her out. If you want to watch the whole thing here, they start to walk her through there. They end up moving her out the back. Again, walking in a lot of areas that I don't know if clear or not. You know, her demeanor's kind of like, yeah, open the door.
Step back over here with me.
No big deal. She's in cuffs. Kind of everyday thing. Ain't the first time, won't be the last. I probably got 14 kids on welfare with freaking that have been arrested 200 times.
Can you come over this way? Can you come around the front? Come on. How old are you, hon? 18. Okay.
She's 18. She doesn't look 18. She looks pretty young, so she was probably getting treated a little. Since she's an adult.
There's a fence over there. Walk out to the lieutenant. He'll tell you where to go.
Yeah, go to that lieutenant. That's a good job for lieutenant. Hang out there and just let us send somebody over with handcuffs so you can't screw it up. Anyway, you can watch it. I'll put a link. That's my take. I'm sure I'll have critiques on my critique, and that's okay. I mean, I'm putting it out there for people that don't know and want to know, and that's my side of the story, and, I'll stick to it. We'll end that there.